Coming up is the third race of the day for the Radical Challenge here at Oulton Park, and we've had two great races so far. We've got another 40 minutes of racing to look forward to, and the grid for this one lines up as follows. It will see Steve Burgess start from pole position, where he's pretty much been all day. Dominic Jackson alongside, then Mark Richards and Christian Jeffrey there on row number 2. Jerome de Sadelier, one to watch out for, potential podium finisher starting 5th on the grid. And then further down we've got the likes of Mark Crader in 12th. He's run well in the middle of the pack so far today. Jim Booth, the American, down in 17th place. And then watch out for Spencer Bourne from 19th. Marcello Maracciotto unfortunately missing from the grid for this one. Another 40-minute pit stop race here in glorious sunshine at Oulton Park as the sun glistens onto the cars. They've got perfect formation working their way through the final corner, and it's going to be up to the lights to go out before this race can get underway. But Steve Burgess will be the first man to floor it and head down towards Old Hall Corner. Here we go, 40 minutes of racing gets underway now, and again, just like in all the other races so far today, Dominic Jackson makes a blinding start, and so does Christian Jeffrey. He goes round the outside of Steve Burgess, so not just losing one position but down to third place goes the number 2 machine. He's been a double winner so far today here at Oulton Park, and now Jerome de Sadelier looks around the outside through Cascades on Steve Burgess, who was almost off the podium in the space of 2 or 3 corners, but I think Steve Burgess has just recovered to stay there in third place. But Dominic Jackson has got the whole shot out front. He's going to try and take Christian Jeffrey with him there in second place, and can Steve Burgess fight back there in the all blue machine as they head their way through Shell Oils for the first time? But that was a blinding start. Dominic Jackson has worked so well from the outside line of row number 1, and that has put him in the finishing positions he's had so far here today at Oulton. So down towards Britain's chicane they go for the first time. Looking at some of the lower runners there, that's the Peter Brooks car number 24. And here comes now back to the front Steve Burgess trying to get past Christian Jeffrey. Yet to be a winner so far this year has Christian, but as we said, he's been a multiple podium finisher. I think he's up now to 4. None so far today here at Oulton Park, but can he get his 5th podium of the season? We'll have to wait and see. A long way still to go, as we said, with the 40 minutes. This is the first time they've ever trialled this new format on one day. It's been a very busy day with the qualifying session and the 3 races, but it's worked very, very well indeed, and I'm sure everyone's going to have a well-earned drink at the end of the racing we've had today here at Oulton Park. But it's been thoroughly enjoyable, and we're still enjoying this third race as Steve Burgess and Jerome de Sadelier work their way down towards the final corner at Lodge, and they're being caught now by the looks of it. Is that number 52, I think, Mark Richards, who has been on the podium a couple of times already today. Yes, it is. He's right there. He's going to have the success seconds to serve through the pit stop as Steve Burgess runs wide at Old Hall Corner, which is going to put him now alongside Jerome de Sadelier, giving him a little bit of a bump. A second one just for good measure. And still, Jerome de Sadelier is not through. Can he go round the outside at Cascades? That would be a brilliant move if he achieves it. But nope. Steve Burgess with arms and elbows aplenty keeps Jerome de Sadelier at bay. And now Mark Richards is going to be on the attack as they work their way down towards Island Bend. But again, the speed was there with Jerome de Sadelier, which means he keeps his 4th place for the time being. But there's still plenty that can play out, especially with what looks to be Steve Burgess struggling in these early stages. Could that be a sign of things to come, or can he up his ante and now try and pull away from those 3 cars behind and catch up with the 2 that lead the way? Dominic Jackson and the man in second place now. Great start, as we said. Coming through, Christian Jeffrey, they've already pulled away by the tune of probably 2 to 3 seconds at the end of the second lap. And here comes a move from Brian Cordwell, nicely done, down the inside line there of number 52, Mark Richards. That's another place game for Brian. He's been in the top 10 in both races so far. This has been a sterling effort from Brian. I'm sure he's loving the Oulton Park circuit today. There's been no dramas whatsoever for that man as the rest of the field head their way over Clay Hill. There is the race leader now starting to stretch his legs as well, so Christian Jeffrey can't quite keep with the pace of race leader, so he's going to have to up his game if he wants to get, as we said, that first win of the season. It's all to play for here in the third and final race, and there's some more good battling going on a little bit lower down there. Elliot Goodman, defender warrior, I think it's fair to say, in race number 1. He kept everyone at bay for a good 25 to 30 minutes, but then he just broke at the final hurdle. But again, he's going to have to defend from the likes of number 14 John McLeod and also number 20 Mark Crader as they turn their way through the first corner. I think that's Brian Murphy just on the tail. Yes, it is, the red and yellow machine. And this is a bit unusual from Brian because he was on the podium in race number 1, but didn't live up to expectations in race 2 and race 3. He finds himself down the order as well. There's a little bit of dust being kicked up just as you saw exiting shot number 14 John McLeod. He was wide at Cascades, but he's recovered. He hasn't lost, by the looks of it, any places, so it's all good. Thumbs up from John McLeod, continuing on his way. And we'll see if we can unfold any of this when the pit stops come about. 18 minutes is when the pit stop window opens. It lasts for 8 minutes. A very short spell for all the drivers to jump into the pits, get themselves sorted and head back out. No tyre changes to be done, no refuelling on the carts either, so it's all pretty much come in, have a breather, have a drink, which they definitely need today here at Oulton Park. But none other things will take place unless you're a team car. If you are a team car, then of course you'll be changing driver as well, but that's all to come up within the 18-minute period when we reach that. As I said, very short window, and we'll see who benefits from those pit stops. In terms of the success seconds, which are going to make a big part within this race, 25 seconds will be added to Steve Burgess's pit stop. There'll be 20 seconds for Mark Richards after finishing on the podium in the previous endurance race earlier today. Brian Murphy will pick up 15 seconds extra, 10 seconds for Jerome de Sadelier, so that could just knock him a little bit further down from where he is at the minute, and there'll be 5 seconds added to Elliot Goodman, who is just coming through shot any second. There he is, car number 28, currently under attack from number 20, Mark Crader. Those 3 cars together, in fact, very similarly livery, so it makes it hard for us to pick out who they are, but you can just see the red flashes on the rear and also on the front of Elliot Goodman. That's what picks them apart from the others. Down through Cascades they all go for another time. Further back is the first of the team cars by the looks of it. That's number 80, just going through shot there, the black and fluorescent yellow machine of Peter Tyler and Tom Gladys. And behind there was number 64, which is Mark Hignett, as he comes back into shot. And I think that is possibly, number 6, Barry Liversidge, one of many red cars within the Radical Challenge Championship. And Barry's pushing on a little bit lower down in this one, but still having a very competitive race so far as they turn their way through Shell Oils and once again head up to the Britain chicane, which is a daunting corner. It's very, very quick indeed. You have to be ballsy to go through there flat out, and I've seen a few mistakes so far today, but we'll get through safely by the looks of it. Over Hilltop once more, and still Mark Richards, who's doing a tremendous job of holding at bay the likes of Elliot Goodman and Mark Crader. As we said, Mark Richards probably looking for the hat-trick of podiums. He may not get it within this third and final race because he's got those extra seconds to serve within the pit stop, but it's been a great day up until this point. Down towards the final corner we go once again then with the 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th place cars. There's Ollie, again just touching the edge of the track, and that is going to spin him round on the exit of Knickerbrook. Can he catch it? He will. Luckily, as he headed towards the tarmac there, so as he found some adhesion, the car snapped back in the right direction, but Ollie, new to Radical Racing, joins his dad, not in this race unfortunately, because as we said, Marcello Maracciotto has decided to not take part in race number 3. But Ollie continues on and continues to get the advice from his dad as well. A learning step every single race that Ollie comes out in, but great to have him on board as well for the 2018 Radical Championship, and hopefully he'll continue with us for the rest of the year as well, with plenty more racing still to come after Oulton Park. Here comes this trio once again. Mark Crader now past Elliot Goodman. That happened a lap ago, so Elliot Goodman couldn't quite keep at bay Mark Crader, and as soon as Mark Crader has got through, he's now attacking his namesake, Mark Richards, as they work their way through Shell Oils. Can he possibly make a move into Britain's? Don't think he can. He's not quite close enough there, but it's all about setting yourself up through Britain's, getting a good run through over Hilltop, and then possibly being later on the brakes in towards the Hizzy chicane, and then working your way through Knickerbrook to get the move done. But again, Mark Crader not quite there, so Mark Richards holds on to the place for the time being. Mark has only been with us one other time this year. That was at Donington Park for the first 3 races. He's missed Brands Hatch, he's missed Spa, but he's back here at Oulton Park, and what a return he's had to Radical Racing. There is our race leader though, Dominic Jackson, down towards the first corner. He's now got a very, very healthy lead over the rest of the pack. There's no one in sight behind him. Complete contrast to race number 1, where unfortunately there was a slight mistake after the pit stop. Not too sure what the problem was, whether it was just cold tyres or whether he just made a little bit of an error in judgment of braking after sitting still for about 60 seconds. And those tyres, even in these conditions, very hot today, they will drop off quite dramatically. So Dominic Jackson possibly making the mistake, but for now we continue on our way. Brian Murphy there, number 57, race 1 podium finisher as well, being hounded for now though by Peter Tyler and the Tom Gladys machine, and that sits there just on the tail as they work their way down through Cascades. As we focus now back on Jim Booth being attacked here by the looks of it by Peter Brooks. Peter Brooks going to get through. Yes, he is. Breathes in, holds his breath, comes out the other side and makes up the place as well on Jim Booth. So great racing between them. Keeps it very fair and very clean at the same time. This car, as we just mentioned, number 80, that is currently being started by Tom Gladys. So Tom is, no disjustice to Peter Tyler, is the quicker driver, and he will be looking to make up some places in the early stages. So looking to get past now Brian Murphy on the outside run down towards Hizzies, which may just happen because Brian Murphy's gone in very tight. Will he run wide over the grass? No, but then he's a little bit out of sequence through the next couple of corners, which may just allow Tom Gladys to pull through. There's still the dirt and rubbish and grass all over the track there on the exit of Knickerbrook after Ollie Maratiotto's mistake, but that'll be brushed away very quickly as the cars head through very, very fast. These radicals, they go to 0 to 60 in just over 3 seconds, so they will take your breath away. And at the minute, Tom Gladys is working very hard to try and get past, first off, Brian Murphy, and then he'll set his sights on John McLeod in car number 14, and then possibly may have a chance of catching number 52, Mark Richards, who has fallen behind Mark Crader and also Elliot Goodman within the space of the last lap or so. So just like previous races and other people, race number 3 not working in the way of Brian Murphy, who's there in the red and yellow machine, and also Mark Richards, who is just up the road. Those two have suffered in this third and final race, unfortunately. Down Lakeside Straight we go once more then. Brian Murphy this time looking to try and get through on John McLeod. It looked a little bit bumpy through there, which it definitely is, even though the Oulton Park has been resurfaced over the last year or so. It is still a very, very bumpy circuit, but it does provide fantastic racing. And just as Brian Murphy was about to make a move on John McLeod, he's now going to fall into the clutches of Tom Gladys by the looks of it. So Tom Gladys wants to keep working his way up through the order before he hands that car over to Peter Tyler, and I'd hazard a guess that Tom Gladys may stay out for the longer stint here before coming in possibly towards the end of the pit stop window. As we said, 18 minutes is when it opens, 8 minutes it will remain open for, and you can't come in until you pass the pit window open sign on the start line. So you need to go past that once before you can head into the pit lane, but it's not too far away now. The clock continues to tick away and drivers will be thinking about when they want to bring their cars in. And again, Tom Gladys going for the attacking move down towards Lodge Corner. It could well work this time. Brian Murphy leaves enough room on the inside line, which may just lend him to run wide, but no, he keeps it very clean, very tidy, doesn't run out over the exit of the curb, and Brian Murphy again holds on to the place. This is just like Elliot Goodman did in race number 1. He keeps at bay. It may only be one car, but he's still keeping that car at bay as he runs wide this time at Old Hall Corner, but it doesn't seem to slow him down, does it, by the looks of it. Here's a replay. Jim Booth straight through the chicane, didn't fancy doing all the hard work of heading through Hizzies and Knickerbrook, and carries on without pretty much anyone looking. That's what he'll think anyway, but he may receive a black and white flag. Oh, and Brian Murphy goes round. He pirouettes once, and I think that's the only time he'll go 360 at that speed. That was very dramatic if he manages to catch it and luckily doesn't spear back onto the track at unabated speed there. But well, that all happens. Dominic Jackson has chosen to come in, which is quite surprising actually, because he had clear track. He had a nice healthy lead over Christian Jeffrey. He was doing good lap times. You'd have thought he'd have stayed out, but no, he chooses to come in. He wants to get refreshed and revitalised and go out for stint number 2. Of course, no driver change for him. The majority of the field won't driver change because they are all solo entered cars, whereas this car will do a driver change. And again, quite surprising that Tom Gladys has brought himself in fairly early, but he's going to give Peter Tyler the majority of the run now to the end, as the stopwatch there in the team manager's hand is about to tick to the allotted time. And away goes Dominic Jackson once again then. No success seconds to serve this time for him, which he'll be very thankful for. That's all due to him finishing outside the top 5 in race number 1 here today at Oulton Park. So he is with the normal 60 seconds. There is Elliot Goodman. He had to serve an extra 5 seconds after finishing in 5th position in race number 1, so that's not too lengthy to be fair. There's Ollie Maratiotto. I think there you can see, Marcello Maratiotto's car in the garage. That was one of those, as we said, decided not to start race number 3. But Marcello looking on, watching his son, and giving him some words of wisdom at the same time as well. There goes the team car back onto the circuit, and here comes into the pit Steve Burgess. Has a very big gulp of water, which is much needed today, and I think the majority of the field will come in as well, followed there by the Rod Goodman machine, number 31. Bit of grass, which has been collected by John McLeod, is now out of the front grille as Rod Goodman comes to a stop, and that looks a very pretty sight, doesn't it? All these radicals here today at Oulton Park. Sunoco sponsored Steve Burgess, and of course we'll have the Sunoco fastest driver of the weekend as well to award at the end of this third and final race. And Steve Burgess gets away now after serving an extra, don't forget, 25 seconds on top of the 60 seconds that he had to stand still for. So that is a massive amount of time for Steve, which is going to drop him, I reckon, somewhere just inside the top 10. I think it's going to be about 8th or 9th place, which is better than what Dominic Jackson dropped to in race number 1. So he's benefited a little better than Dominic, but still work to do if he wants to get himself some solid points heading off to the next round of the championship. There's Jerome de Sadelier. He had to serve an extra 10 seconds in the pit stop, and one of the final ones to serve that pit stop is going to be Spencer Bourne, car number 8, who heads now back on his way as well. So all the pit stops now look to be completed, and Dominic Jackson, after all of that, unfazed, no time added on in the pit stop. It's looking pretty good at the minute for that number 4 machine after what was torrid race number 1, to be fair. Race number 2 was slightly better after finishing on the podium, and it could have been the race win. If it wasn't for that red flag, we could have squeezed a couple more laps in just to get him up into the race lead, but it wasn't to be. He's put it all right here in race number 3, and of course he's off the back of some great success we had at Spa for Dominic. He hadn't had a win so far this year. They headed to Belgium. 3 race wins for Dominic, and that's given him the spirit he needs and the kind of monkey off his shoulder just to say, yeah, I am capable of winning, and he's looking to go back to winning ways here in the 3rd race of the day. There's Mark Richards returning to the track. He had to serve an extra 20 seconds. That was quite an added time to his pit stop, so that drops him down the order. And he's got work to do to try and carve his way back through the field. I think he's just rejoined in front of John McLeod by the looks of it. As up towards the front of the field now, Elliot Goodman is once again at the defensive ploy to try and keep Steve Burgess at bay this time. It's going to be a tougher task, I'm sure, for Elliot Goodman, but he'll give it a grand shot and see what he can do. A little bit further back here, number 10 is continuing on his way. That's John Caldwell. It looks like Mark Richards, in fact, has dropped behind him, so that's a long way down for Mark. I don't think it's going to be a hat-trick of podiums for him on his return after missing the previous 2 rounds, but again, solid points is what you look for. That is what wins championships. I'm sure Steve Burgess will know that after being a former champion within the Radical Challenge Championship. Dominic Jackson is not a champion as of yet, but could 2018 be his year? Oh, and Steve Burgess has gone around at Shell Oils all on his own, which is very surprising. There was no one with him. Didn't look like there was contact from behind. John McLeod sneaks through. I'm just wondering now, they only get 6 tyres per weekend. I'm just wondering if Steve Burgess has left his worst set till the end of the day, because he hasn't been that quick. He's been dropping off the pace. He's just made a mistake. So possibly there, Steve Burgess with old rubber on, whereas everyone else managed to take their best set for this 3rd race. But Steve is definitely struggling. And in fact, race 1, as we said, Dominic Jackson with the added time. He then made a mistake after the pit stop. Race number 3, deja vu, because Steve Burgess with the added time, he also makes a mistake after the pit stop as well. So not good news. He has the speed there though, doesn't he, over Clay Hill. It looks like he may be able to get back past John McLeod. He's going to push on. Let's see if he can get the job done in towards Lodge Corner. He's just the twinkle in the rearview mirror at the minute. He darts out briefly, but there's no way through there on the number 14 machine. So Steve Burgess keeps himself behind for now. Not for want of trying though to get through and add a few more points to his tally here at Oulton Park. After 2 wins, that's a solid account already here today, but he'd want another good result just to keep Dominic Jackson as far at bay as possible. Down through the avenue they go once more then. John McLeod still defending. Steve Burgess gets a good run through Cascades. He runs wide again though over the exit curb, over the dirt, which is now just going to make his tyres a little bit more grubby coming in towards the island bend, but nonetheless he goes through. Has more confident by the looks of it in himself. So Steve Burgess now moves ahead of John McLeod, and that could potentially put him back inside the top 10 within this 3rd and final race. So he plugs on once more. Let's see now how much time he needs to try and catch the car in front. Well, I think that's your answer there, because there is no one in sight. With time ticking away within this 3rd and final race, I don't think Steve Burgess will catch anyone else, unfortunately. Meantime, back out front, this man, Dominic Jackson, all over the rear of the number 24 machine. That is the Peter Brooks driven car. which now lets the race leader through. The blue flags were being waved by the ever hard-working marshals, who are out there in some very hot conditions today. Normally they get the wet weather and the cold conditions, but for today they get the hot ones. They can't really win, can they? The Great British Marshals do a fantastic job, and of course without them we would not be able to go racing and enjoy the Radical Challenge Championship. So thanks very much for all that hard work today here at Oulton, and they can continue to watch this great fight that continues as well between number 52 Mark Richards, who's trying to get his way past. That's Mark Crader, who's possibly come out behind after all of the pit stops. And those two cars are just behind the number 14 machine of John McLeod, who has passed quite recently, as we said, by number 2 Steve Burgess. In fact, it's number 10 that Mark Richards is behind, and that's the second of the Caldwells within this field. That's John Caldwell, who was a little bit slow through the final corner, which now allows Mark Richards to get through. So he gets one place ticked off before we see the checker flag, which in fact is only going to be, I think, a couple of minutes away now. We are ticking towards the end of the 40 minutes. The flag comes out the first time the leader crosses that line once the 40 minutes have elapsed. So Dominic Jackson will be looking for that last lap board. He'll be willing it away pretty quickly, I think, because he will not want anything else to go wrong, as Mark Richards there runs a little bit wide through the left-hander at Cascades. There's Jerome de Sadelier, car number 5. That is Oli Maracchiotto, who is a lap down now, so he's been passed by Jerome. Another man, as we said, who had to serve the extra time within the pit stops, only 10 seconds extra, which still seems like a lot, to be fair, but compared to 25 seconds, it's, I think, a light relief for Jerome de Sadelier, the youngster. He is the SR1 champion from 2017. It's a great ladder that Radical have, working your way from SR1 up through SR3. From here, you can then move on to the Radical European Masters, and every time you get a quicker and quicker car, and it's a great championship to be involved in, and the European Masters goes from strength to strength all over the world. That heads. At the minute, it's the Radical Challenge Championship, which is delivering great action, and unfortunately there, a spin for John Caldwell, one of many people who have got it wrong today down there at Hizzy Chicane. Again, no damage done, but a lot of grass has been collected on this dry day. It's sitting there, very yellow compared to what it's normally like here at Oulton Park, very green, but there's going to be possibly a little bit of overheating which is taking place for John as he rejoins the track. For now though, this man, Dominic Jackson, on his way to the checker flag. We're on to the last lap. You can see his eyes working to find those apexes. The clear visor on for today, which again is quite surprising because the sun is out. You'd have thought Dominic Jackson would have gone for the darker visor, but he's decided not to, and he's on his way now to the last couple of corners. Through Druids, he's about to head. There he comes. It's now just going to be the final right-hander at Lodge for him to negotiate, and with that we should be up to the line and see him take his 4th victory of the year. So he's almost level with Steve Burgess, who's a lot further down, but this one goes to Dominic Jackson, who comes through. He takes the checker flag in style, and that'll be a great work for Dominic. He'll be a lot happier from where he was at the start of the day, and after 3 blinding starts, I think he deserves that final race win of the day here at Oulton Park. Second place we wait to come through. Meantime, there's been further drama. Brian Murphy and Spencer Bourne have collided, they've tangled, they managed to rejoin. In fact, one of them does. Don't know if Brian Murphy will rejoin. Second place we wait, in fact, has already gone through across the line as the lower runners now cross and take the checker flag. But race win, Dominic Jackson, his 5th of the year. Next up, Christian Jeffrey there in what's going to be second place. Third place for Jerome de Sadelier, and Mark Crader just missing out on a podium ahead of Elliot Goodman. And Steve Burgess, good drive there to get himself back up into 6th position. Spencer Bourne, Peter Tyler and Tom Gladys, the first of the team cars home, and Rod Goodman down there in 13th place with non-finishes for Brian Murphy and Brian Caldwell. But here are the top 3 on the podium.
Yeah, I managed to get the jump on Steve and then just settled into it. I had a few brake issues and managed to manage those throughout the second 2/3 of the race, so it was great. Can I say thanks as well to all the marshals out there? So many of them out there, and it's so hot, and they're really enthusiastic, so thanks to all those guys.
So there we go, some happy drivers on the podium here at Oulton Park. We're going to be off to Snetterton next. Join us then if you can for the 11th and 12th of August. For now though, it's goodbye.